Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of people and events, as my brain goes a million different directions. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about being overwhelmed. I mean, we are, if you're in the wedding industry here in South Florida, we're about to go into season and talk about a really crazy busy season that is happening right now. And so it's really difficult to figure out how to build your business while making sure that you're taking care of the clients that you have while doing all the other things. So our guest today is Carissa Kruse. She is an industry maven and a marketing and conversion strategist. I'm getting that all wrong. But before I bring her on, let me bring on Marcy Gutenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Keith.
So you know what's happening right now is that I'm actually thinking about all the other things that I have to do today, and it is messing up my brain.
I can actually see the wheels turning in your brain, in your
Oh
head.
my God. Because I was like literally working on emails and I went, oh my God, we got to do the podcast. We got to, and I was like, how perfect. How absolutely
And you've been
perfect.
going at this, I think, now for the last few weeks, like nonstop.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy, but I'm so that's why I'm really excited that we've got this particular guest on. Carissa Kruse is amazing, and you are a big believer in hers.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, hands down, one of the best people in the industry to know for learning about marketing and, getting those tools that you need to run your business effectively.
Yeah. So let's bring her on. Carissa Kruse, welcome to Behind the Veil.
Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to be here and chat with you guys.
Oh my
Hi,
God, we're excited for you too, because like I said, I was literally, as we were doing the intro, my brain started going, oh, wait. Oh, I got to do this, and this, so your job is really to do what for planners? Let's start there.
Yeah. So my background is marketing and sales. I started my own wedding business about 10 plus years ago. And what happened is I realized that other wedding pros were having difficulty with the marketing sales piece, right? Because usually get into doing what you do because you love it, not because you want to do marketing and sales. So that is what's happened. And as I was building my wedding business, I realized there were certain things that weren't working because our industry is so awesome. I absolutely love our industry, but it's very unique and it takes certain things from a marketing and sales standpoint that don't work in other industries, or maybe, we're just unique in that way, which is great. And so, but what's happened with the marketing and sales arena is it's changed, from years ago when I was in college. Like everything I learned is like out the window, right? Like,
100%.
It's maybe some foundational stuff, but but everything has changed and it's just become so much noise. I usually just use the word noise because it's so much. And you get pulled in this direction. You just don't even know what to do or where to go. And like you said, earlier, you're like doing this and then this and then that. And so, and then we have our amazing weddings to plan and do those, and perform those amazing services. And we want to make sure we put all of, our good energy into that, because those are our reviews, how we're going to get new business and all that kind of stuff. And so that's really what I've really tried to do is I'm a strategy girl from the marketing and sales standpoint. And so I really try to help you break down, do what you need to do to accomplish your goals while you still are able to maintain that life you want to live and that, take back your time and have some of that freedom because, so you're not working all the time. Yeah. So that's really what I try to do.
Life. Okay. What life? Let's just start there. What life? No, I mean, but that is a thing. It's like, we're people pleasers. I mean, the reason that we got into this business is because we love the industry of love. And so we want to make people happy. And and that's different for every single couple. Like I've got one couple that absolutely has to have in-person meetings for every single meeting, every photographer, a cake. I mean, name it, has to be in person. And I try to explain to them that, look, that's 3 hours of my time versus an hour. So I don't mind doing a couple of in-person, but for efficiency's sake, we should be doing these on Zoom because not everybody's going to be able to meet us at the time that you're available.
Yep.
And that's a hard line to put down and for clients, because then they got that look like, well, wait, well, what are we paying you for? I'm like, well, you're paying me for my expertise in this world. And I'm telling you, you don't need to be doing a million in-person meetings.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of helping shift our clients, into what makes the most sense for time too, because they, so yeah, that's actually say that. That's a lot of what I help with is, taking back your time, and here's what here's how to manage that time, and here's what you need to do to achieve your goals.
So I know that's my thing. So what are most event planners or planners dealing with at this point?
So it's really there's really four main pieces. There's really four main areas that a lot of wedding planners are dealing with. It's the first one is I raised my prices.
Yeah.
And no one is booking. Then I'm not charging enough and headed for burnout.
Been there.
And I'm struggling to get new inquiries on a consistent basis.
Been there.
And then I have no more hours to give for growing my business. So those
oh my God. Can I just sign up for all four?
All four. And usually, no matter how seasoned you are, you're probably experiencing one of those, because as you grow your business, you hit a different phase, a different level, and then you have that, and then you hit that next, growth stage. And so no matter where you're at, it's usually one of those four.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I teach and share a lot on is marketing funnels and automation.
Right.
And that is really and marketing funnels and automation can help with all four of those things in different forms.
Right.
And that's where you can really kind of take back some of your time. If we can get some of those, there's certain elements into each one of those, but we can really then take and implement the specific marketing funnel or automation you need to help you get to where you want to go with whatever you're struggling with.
So what do you say to people? So when I hear automation, I hear cold, right? I hear robotic responses, which is something that I've tried desperately not to do since I started. So how is that different than what I'm perceiving?
Yep. So there's really, with the word automation, I really like to put it into two buckets. You have kind of your back end automations where your clients and leads maybe don't know they exist. So you have that automations. So there's things that that you might be doing manually that can save you time by automating those. So that's kind of one bucket. So what I like to do is make a list of maybe things that you do on a consistent basis. Either
bitch and complain.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
That one I don't think you can automate. But
can we automate that? Anyway.
Yeah, right. And then you can make that list and and then you can try to see what on there could you possibly automate to take off your, plate. So you're not having to constantly touch that. So something that you're doing all the time. And those are usually things that are behind the scenes. Maybe when you book somebody, there's a process you do. You add them to your calendar, you do whatever it is. So how can you automate some of that? And so that's kind of that's one part of the automation. The other part is where we can automate that's client facing. So so it's things that they might get, but there's ways that we can do that so that it's not cold. So there's two other things I want you to think about when you think of automations.
Yeah.
The couples that we work with now, so here's one thing I always say is as wedding planners, wedding pros, we get older, our clients get younger, right?
Yes.
So that's always something to keep in mind. Keep that in mind. We get older, they get younger. We have to adapt to how they want things. And they are immediate on-demand people. And they are used to automations. They are used to getting
Chat
that
box.
immediate. They're used to that immediate information, even if, and they probably know that it's you're not sitting there at the computer answering like the second later, right? But they're okay with that because that's how they grew up. That's what they want. And so if they don't get that back, they actually feel that disconnect because they're not getting that on-demand, immediate,
I get that.
Yeah. So, but we can craft our messaging, and then it comes down to your messaging. So we can craft our messaging so that it's not cold and that it's, maybe fun or whatever you can put in your branding in there so that it pulls into how you want to show up and be seen.
Right.
You don't have to, do fake and make it pretend like it's you. Like, you don't have to do any of that. They're smart enough, they know, and they just want to know that you are up with the times in a sense, and that you've got things in place. And if you have automations in place, they actually, I think it builds in more of that connection, because you've actually got, they feel like you're just up with the times, maybe is the best way to put it.
Well, so you know, when I hear that though, there's also a little part of me, and I'm old school, right? So I'm an older planner. I'm not a younger planner. So when you say I get older, they get younger, believe me, it's like, I understand that difference. But you know, when I hear that, sometimes my worry is that, you know, if it's so automated, why am I here? Can't I just write a program and then like, here, do it on your own, just type in what you need and it'll be an automatic response? I mean, why do people hire me for my ability to do this if it's automated?
Yep. So there's certain things, like within my business too, there's certain things that I still do manually. So you're not going to automate everything.
Right.
You're only going to pick out those certain things. So when I have like a lead comes in through my website, I actually don't have that response automated. I follow up personally with them because so within my business, I'm very like hands-on. I want it to still be boutique-ish. I want it to have that feel, build that connection. So now you're going to have some people out there that say like, oh, automate that, send them the brochure, do this and that. Like, I don't necessarily, I've tested that method. I didn't like it. It didn't feel good to me. So I felt like my conversions went down with that. So I decided to go back to the roots of, you know, and I usually try to follow up within the hour that they, you know, respond, but that it comes in, because I'm usually on top of my email in that sense for the leads. And so I'll try to respond pretty quickly. So that I don't automate. But if I'm working on getting my leads, like working to get new leads in, and if I have one of the strategies is that I teach is a lead magnet, and, you know, having something that's going to get more leads in the door, so they're more of a colder lead, they would then go into an automation because they're not considered a warm lead. They're not like, they're kind of testing the water to see if I'm a good fit. So that's where an automation can come into play. So I actually divide my funnels up into cold, warm, hot. And so your cold funnel is going to be like that lead magnet where you're trying to get more leads in the door, get more that way. And then your warm is going to be like your bookings funnel. And so once a lead comes into my website, I follow up manually with them first. And then they go into my bookings funnel, which then sends them a series of emails, like 6 to 10 emails is usually what I say. And they're just it's my nurturing sequence. So it's going to share information about me and my company. It's going to share like how we're different. It just builds that rapport and nurtures kind of on the back end. So if I didn't connect with them yet, they're going to start getting those emails from me, but they're different emails than what I would maybe send, you know, and follow up manually. So it's kind of that double touch process. Yeah. But you've got the automation side. So if I do get busy or I get sick or something like that, I still have that running in the background. So it's doing that heavy lifting for me and filling in some gaps here and there. So that's really where I like funnels and automation, is just to supplement and to fill in the gaps of where you need, but not take over and automate everything. Because then you're losing that whole personal touch. And the clients that we're working with want still, you know, we're not just trying to churn, you know, we're not trying to book 1,000 weddings a year and churn out, you know, like we're trying to find those ideal clients and those, you know, and build that. And so that's where that kind of comes in.
That old school turn and burn, right?
Yeah. That's really not what we're trying to do. So
no, you know, it's funny, but like today, this is a perfect example. I do the same thing as you, Carissa. When I have a lead that comes in on my website, I want to personally touch base with them directly, as opposed to having it go through anything else. And that way it does have a more personalized tone to it. But when I do like something like some of my templates, when I say templates, I have certain things such as like a thank you note or something like that. There are certain phrases that I want to make sure to include, but I really do want to make it more personal, because every couple is different. Every client is different. And I feel like I need to have that personal tone with them still. So, today I did a bunch today that they were all different from one another because they're all at different phases in their whole process than one another.
Yeah.
So, it does have, there are automations, but they are personalized. And I think that's kind of where you're talking about, like the hot leads, right? I mean, the warm leads.
Right. So what do you do?
Phase.
Well, so I understand the idea of automation, and I can see why it would make sense for me to have that in place. My actual secondary concern then is like, does it remind you that you sent out this email? Like, is there something that comes back to you and says, Diaz burner wedding, thank you note sent, or something like that, just kind of reminds you where they are in the process?
Yeah, you can definitely set up within your automations where it'll send you a note that says, hey, here's what happened. So if you're wanting to kind of stay a little more hands-on, because that's the other thing when I got into automations and started this as well, I'm a person that likes to be in control and know what's going on. And so when I started them, so when I started them as well, it was a little uncomfortable for me because I was like, well, what's going on? Like, did they get the right email? Or are they getting all of that kind of stuff? And so there are ways that we can set up kind of some triggers that will notify you as well. So we can do that too. Yeah. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you can be like, okay, I don't need to know this anymore. Like, because then you can, do you
think automation helps planners actually increase their volume and their price point at the same time? Because we did talk a little bit about, funnels and getting those inquiries in and being able to raise your prices and still get, the business signing contracts. And that to me is always a hard part for somebody that's new coming into the business, is that they always start kind of low because they want to get that business and they want to get their name out there. And then they start raising their price and then they go, oh my God, wait, nobody's booking. It's like, well, they will, you just have to trust sometimes in the system.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I've noticed when you implement funnels or automations into your business, it makes you show up more professional. It makes you show up quicker. It'll nurture and just build more of that connection over your competition. So what happens is a lot of people aren't doing these things. And so when you're showing up differently, you stand out. And they go, wow, and then they also go, and as a planner, you have to do so many things, right? We have to plan so many details, keep track of so much stuff that if you have your booking process on point and it's easy for them, I'm all about making it as easy as possible for your couples to book you.
Yeah.
If you make it easy, they're going to think it's going to be easy for you to plan their wedding. How you show up to them in that very first communication, and then those next few ongoing ones, is that feeling of how it's going to be to work with you. So think on that. That's a little deep. So if you take maybe 15 minutes, a half an hour of your time and just kind of think through that, like if I was somebody coming into my business, how do they feel? How do they show up?
Yeah.
Do I make it easy for them? Because that's how they're going to feel when it's, for you to plan their wedding too.
That makes total sense, because a lot of times I get the business because I was the only person that answered the call, or I was the only person that replied to the email. And I'm always surprised by that, because I'm like, well, so, first, how did you find me? And then the second, it's like, what drew you to me? And they're like, well, because you answered the call. You actually answered your phone, or you actually emailed us back. And I'm like, doesn't everybody? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It's crazy.
It is. Yeah. And so that's where they want to build that rapport and that trust with you. And if you can build that right away, you're going to move to the top of the list. And that's what those automations and, all of that does. And that's exactly what happens a lot of times is they reach out and we talk about and complain about getting ghosted. But a lot of times the wedding planners pros are ghosting the leads. And so we're not considered. Yeah. And so that's where, and we get busy. I get it. Like we got to do timelines, we got to do this, we got to play, and so that's where the automations can help, because you can be nurturing those leads on the back end through your bookings funnel is what I call it. And because we're trying to get them to book, and you're like within there, they can book a call with you easily. We can set all of that up, but you're still, then you can manually follow up here and there. So you have that capacity to do that, because if you're not doing all of these miscellaneous kind of tasks on the side that are drawing that energy, you can really put that energy towards where it matters and making those connections and that personal, those
that
personal
totally
manual follow-ups. And then
oh, wait, say again. Sorry. And
no, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, because I was thinking, obviously when we get really, really busy is the time that our delayed response happens when talking to new clients. And then of course, then we get slow. And so what happens when we get slow? We get quicker at responding to people and more focused in, and then our business goes back up. And so we end up in this wave pattern, constantly like going up and down, up and down. I mean, I was just talking to recently, and Marcy knows, I mean, I got very close to closing my business, so close to closing my business, because I had this really crazy busy season after COVID, as many planners out there did. And I was so busy that I was like, I cannot take on another person. I just cannot take on another person. Well, that kicked me in the ass, let me just tell you, because then 6 months after that, careful what you wish for, because 6 months later, because I wasn't able to respond to people, or didn't have any type of automations in place that helped me respond to people, I was finding myself going, oh crap, wait, where'd all the business go? And business was there, I just didn't respond to it in a timely manner. I was so focused on making sure my current clients were taken care of that I didn't take care of my future clients, and they're the same.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And that's really where that can, where the funnels and automation can really help, and look at it as almost like your assistant. So if you want to, that's kind of just another way to envision it, is almost like your mini assistant over here that's just doing some of this work for you. But you're just telling it what to do and when to do it.
Love that. And then when you, sorry, go ahead, Marcy, you first.
I was just going to say, and like being more efficient, it helps your bottom line, because you're spending less time and you're becoming more profitable, because you're spending that less time on something that could have been at least partially planned out.
I was just thinking, how many times have you divided the number of hours that you worked by the number, how much money you made, and you went, I just made 25 cents an hour. Excellent.
Exactly.
It's like, oh yay, I'm so glad I'm in this business. What? Anyway. So, I mean, I totally get that. Now, I wanted to go back to the you said 6 emails or 6 to 7 emails. That to me seems like a lot of emails to be automated back and forth. What are those emails that you're sending out, those 6 or 7 emails?
Yep. So those emails are going to be, so once a lead comes into your business, you're manually going to follow up like you usually do. And then you can add them to this funnel that it's a series of emails that shares more about behind the scenes about you and your business, why you do what you do. It's kind of some information you might have a little bit on your website, but maybe not a ton. It's going to share just, just some backstory, maybe share a story about a wedding, share like how you're going to kind of brag about yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Which is hard for a lot of planners actually to brag about themselves.
Yes. And so you're going to you're set up a series of emails that kind of share your story. And so it's building that connection deeper. And what's great about these emails is it's not usually stuff you're going to say when you meet with them, because again, you're not going to sit there and brag about yourself. It's not something you're probably going to email otherwise. So it's kind of just nurturing and building that and giving them a little more information about you that you just wouldn't normally give them. And so you're just kind of going that extra deeper level. So those will just kind of, usually I like to have those 6 emails go out about over 30 days. And so it's not like one right after another. So that's also so they just kind of drip out. And so, and that might be a little shorter depending on your business. just, it really kind of depends on how fast somebody books you. So you could kind of test that out. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, over 30 days, somewhere in there is usually seems to be the best fit. But I've noticed it's taking longer for people to book as well. Yes. And so, which I don't know if you guys have seen that too. Yeah. So it's taking longer for people to book. And so that's also where we don't want to annoy them. Like, so, you know, they reached out to me. Like, so if I get a lead, they reached out and I'm like, okay, cool. I follow up right away. And then they may get back and then something happens. And then, you know, so you don't want to feel like you're constantly like, hey, you ready to chat yet? Hey, you ready to chat yet? Want to chat now? Like, so, you know, on the back end, you're sending these emails over that, whatever that period of time. So, you know, you're not ghosting them. So, you know, you're still, you're still kind of checking in, and then you might check in, you know, in a couple weeks if you haven't heard. Yes. So it fills in kind of that gap process for you. So you're not feeling like you're bugging them.
Yeah. But so it doesn't come across as spam.
Correct. Exactly.
It's more like I'm here, but I'm not like in your face here.
Yes.
And is it better for somebody else to write those braggy emails than yourself?
So yes and no. I actually have templates that you can use that helps you with the wording so that you can fill in those gaps and whatever. So I give you the templates on how to fill those in.
Right.
Because it is hard. It's even hard for myself to like say, hey, here's how great we are. You know, like,
yeah, exactly. I'm so amazing. Oh my God. Look at me.
But there is kind of a flow to it where like one email is a little bit more about testimonials. One's a little more, you know, so we kind of have a flow of how those go. But yeah, you can definitely write them yourself. And I've got templates that can help with that.
Is anybody hearing that other little?
I did.
Okay. I was like, what's that? I was like, it sounds like a dog wagging its tail. I was like looking down. I'm like, oh, is my dog near me? Oh my God. Oh, and she is. Maybe that was me. Sorry, guys. My dog just like went, what you talking about? Okay.
It's me.
the joys of working at home. Oh my God. So that's the other thing is that, you know, because I'm a small business, and I love the fact that you mentioned boutique earlier in your conversation, because I feel like most people are trying to be boutique, right? I mean, that's, I don't want a big business where I have multiple planners underneath me. I want to be the person that's directly involved. And so I feel like some of this automation helps in that communication process, because there are things that we say to every single client, and even though it feels repetitive to us, it's the first time that they're hearing it. So maybe if we can figure out how to automate that simplifies that whole process.
Yep, you got it. Yeah, so certain things like that you feel like you're saying all the time, a lot, those are the types of things that I love to automate, because then it gives you the capacity and the juice to use that on something else, right? That instead of using that energy to say the same thing over again, like, you know, like, but so if you can automate any of that stuff, and maybe that's an email you use that goes, you know, from that standpoint, you can use that type of email, like in your nurture sequence, you know, if there's something along those lines too. So each sequence is a little different depending on you, your brand, all of that, but there's kind of some elements that we can incorporate in.
Well, and I know I mentioned this before we went on live, but you know, whenever we have these amazing conversations with people that have really amazing ideas, I always get a little overwhelmed by the whole entire process of the idea of, you know, moving it to a more efficient way of doing business. What are like one or two really simple steps that somebody can do today to help move them in that direction? Not saying go completely into, you know, the sales funnel and this. What are like something that I could do right now that goes, okay, one less thing than I have to do every day?
Yep. I would say if you can make that list of anything that you do repetitively for your current clients and then for your leads. So you can actually do kind of two different lists. And then you can start by kind of taking off some of those tasks, because that'll kind of get you started with the automations and kind of get you a little bit more like, okay, how does this work? How is this going to save me time before you kind of put it in front of your your clients direct, before you start going down that path, because I get it's kind of scary. You don't want to mess anything up because a lead that comes in is very important because it's money on the table, right? So we don't want to mess it up. So sometimes we think if we start automating stuff, we're going to mess that up. So if we could start with, those back end things, some of that stuff, that is where I would really start if you wanted to kind of, figure out something that you wanted to kind of start
first. Because first you got to know what you actually do before you can actually start thinking about the things that can supplement that. Because I mean, I don't think I've ever written down all the steps that I've gone through with a client. I mean, I just do it, and it's kind of like somebody saying, "Oh, what's the address of that restaurant?" And you're like, "Oh, if you take a left and then a right and you see the McDonald's, it's next to it." It's kind of that same process. It's like you just do it because you're automated internally. But but I guess taking some time and just sitting down and saying, okay, when I get a new client, what do I typically do? What do I typically say? How do I respond? And then put that in a more formal situation as an automated email response.
Yeah, because then you can actually start to kind of see what am I doing that I can actually automate, because it's something that is repetitive, or you notice you copy the same thing for something all the time and you put it. And so maybe that's kind of something that maybe can be automated somehow. But really the software is kind of the other thing I hear people like, okay, well, what do I need to, more software, right? What do I need to do? So really there's only 3 pieces that you need to create your marketing funnels automations. It's your CRM system. I don't really care what CRM system you use, just your CRM system.
Say that again. But what is, explain what CRM is.
Oh, yep. So client resource management. So that a lot of times it might be Honeybook, it might be Dubsado, it might be IO Planner, like whatever your whatever your system is that you rock paper coin, that you keep track of your clients, you send proposals.
Excel. No, I'm kidding.
your proposals,
typewriter,
contracts, exactly. Yeah. So that type of thing. So then you have that. And then the other thing is your website, which you probably have. So you need your website, because we need that. And then the other thing is your email marketing software. So usually the email marketing software might be the one that you might need to add if you don't have that, because that's where we can really set up some automations and some of that stuff on the back end.
Like a constant contact type of thing, or something a little bit more specific.
Yep. I love and recommend ActiveCampaign. That's kind of my favorite one.
I've never heard of them.
What is that one? ActiveCampaign?
ActiveCampaign. Yep.
Love that.
And a little tip. If you go, and if you want to sign up, they have like a 14-day trial, but you only need the light version, LITE. They're going to try to get you like up to the really expensive version. But the light version is,
more than enough.
That's the one I use, the light version. So that's all you need.
Love it.
But there's a lot of things you can do with that, but it's also can be as simplistic or as robust as you want it to be. So that's,
do you know how that compares to, like, I use constant content. No, I use ConvertKit. I know there's Flowdesk, MailerLite.
Now you're speaking French to me, because I'm like, what? I have never even heard of these other 2 things that you talked about. What?
How do those all compare out? Do you have any thought process on the different ones?
Yep. So really any email software works. Like any of those will work. It really comes down to your preference.
Right.
I just love ActiveCampaign because I can actually build an automation and share my automation with you. So you can automatically just pop it into your account, and then it's built and it's just right there for you. So that's one thing that I love about ActiveCampaign. I also love the one thing when you do emails is I want them to come off as just a standard email. I don't want them to come off as salesy. Yes, they're automated, but I don't want to be like, hey, here's an automated email you're getting. Like, I want it to kind of come off more natural, even though they know it's going to be automated. I don't want to I don't want it like branded in like a newsletter form or anything like that. My emails come off as just an email. Marcia's on my email list and stuff like that for, so they just come off as emails. Usually I have an email signature at the bottom. So it makes it simple. It's clean. So that's the other thing is you don't want to muck them up and make them too busy. So, because you want them to read what you're writing.
Too many large words. So
yeah, well, sometimes you get so much color going on and so much like the background colors.
Right.
So just keeping it simple is actually better because that's going to just come off as more of an email in your clients, in your client or couple's eyes versus, hey, here's an email newsletter. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Carissa, I mean, wow. I mean, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe 30 minutes already went by because now it's like, oh my God, there's so much more to talk about because I want to have you back on because I really want to talk about the prices, of raising the prices and that idea of, if I raise my prices, then all of a sudden I'm not getting any bookings because I feel like that's a whole different world than what we're talking about currently because we've only talked about automation and about how to become even a little bit more efficient with your current business. And I think that there's a whole nother world. So I'm hoping that you'll come back on with us. Yeah.
Yes, I sure will. Yeah. Anytime. Let me know.
I love it. And so if people wanted to get in touch with you and have you help them with becoming more efficient with their business, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach me on Instagram at Carissa Kruse Weddings. My website's also CarissaCruseWeddings.com. So you can definitely reach me at, send me a DM or reach me on any of those that I'd be happy to, chat a little bit more.
And by the way, Kruse is with a K, if you're listening to us.
Yep.
Yeah, CarissaKruse Weddings. And that's her Instagram and her Facebook. So in case you wanted to reach out on both sides. Carissa, you have been a real joy.
Great. Thank you so much. I love talking about marketing and funnels. I can talk about it all day. So.
and I'm like, and I'm so glad that there's people like you in this world because it makes my life easier because that's not something I'm typically good at. So, so good. And so we're going to have you back on and we're going to talk about the whole idea of raising prices and that whole other segment, because I said, I think that's just super, super important. But thank you again for being on today. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. I loved it so much.
Oh my God. All right. So we'll be back next Tuesday at 2:00. Expect Carissa probably, I think we're booked through like December at this point. So it may be early 2024, but we're definitely going to have her back on. But for now, we're going to say goodbye.